Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Funhouse. If you've been following me, you probably know that I'm trying to turn a 2019 Honda Pilot into a tow rig. Not for anything heavy duty, obviously, but at least for a pop-up camper. The pop-up camper in question is a pretty beefy one, and it has brakes. So I put the 7-pin plug in. If you saw my previous videos, I saved a ton of money by getting a trailer hitch from E-Trailer instead of the Honda one. Problem is, though, I wanted to get the Honda wiring, which was all plug and play, which was great, but the Honda hitch goes up here and gives you a little more clearance, and a bracket built for the Honda wiring harness and plug, 7-pin plug. I used this one, which works out pretty good. It's a little low when you're going up and down the hills and mountains in Pennsylvania. I have to use a hitch that comes out and up a little bit so the trailer doesn't drag. And I gotta be careful about what path I choose. Not a whole lot of ground clearance. And again, if you watched one of my previous videos, you saw me make this bracket where I bent up what came with the hitch. Made this bracket that accepts the Honda plug. Problem is, it is kind of aiming out and down, so I'm worried that it comes down lower than this and it could possibly hit the ground when I'm going over rough terrain. Also, when I use my regular little utility trailer that has a 4-pin flat plug, I have to plug an adapter in here that comes way out, and then it gives me the flat plug, and you know, we're losing a lot of ground clearance. So I haven't really had a problem. I'm just worried for the future that I will have a problem. So my idea is to undo this, and I bought a plug and play adapter that should work out better. It's got the 7-pin round plug plus the flat plug, and it plugs into the Honda plug, which I can then zip tie it together, fill it up with lithium dielectric grease, and zip tie it shut forever. And hopefully this makes me happy, makes me feel a little more confident, gives me a lot more ground clearance. Let's see how it goes. Step one will of course be uninstalling everything I've done so far. The nuts and bolts that came with this bracket were kind of anemic, so the holes in the trailer hitch were bigger than the holes in the bracket for the plug. So I took the bolt here that I was using, drilled out this big enough for that. I went with 19/64. It's a little bit bigger than what I needed, but it's not like the bolt will pull through, and it also gives me a little bit of wiggle room in case the holes don't line up quite perfectly. I bent the bracket back down where it belongs, and when I put this bracket under it, I don't like how far down it sticks. And when I put it above, well, I like that better, but it's still a little low. But there's all this room before you start interfering with the holes for the plug. So I've got some washers and some spacers and some longer bolts, and I'm going to see if I can't space it up a bit. I'll see how far I can go before it interferes with mounting the plug. So I've decided on this layout where this flat plug will be on this side of the plug. And then I pinched it in where it goes and put this plate on with these 2 screws. Probably better to show you than try to explain it with one hand. Just in case you imitate what I'm doing, I have the plug in front of the bracket, and then this bracket will go behind the larger bracket with the nuts on it, and it'll look something like that. And there you have it. I would have preferred to have mounted the bracket first and then put the plug in, but I need the plug in place so I know how much room I have when I space out for height. Alright, got my bolts in, washer underneath, 2 spacers between the bracket on the hitch and the bracket for the plug, another washer, lock washer on top, and then a nut. We just get those snugged up, and I really like the placement of that. It's about as high as it can go without being too high. I loosened up these mounting screws, got my ratchet and extension onto the bolt, held the top still with a wrench, and got these good and snug. Now I'll tighten these back up and on to the next phase. Turns out my plug and play part was not plug and play. The plugs did not match, they would not plug into each other. I had to figure out what went where from the old plug versus what goes where with the new plug. And now I am going to solder and shrink wrap all my joints, cover it in wire loom, and then put it all tucked up under the car. Okay, I got my splices in the wire loom. I got the wire loom zip tied to the trailer hitch up nice and high. Put a little loose one here just to keep this from getting down into harm's way. But everything's done. I guess I should test it. Make sure that it works. I think it looks halfway decent. Tucked up safe and sound, just in time. It's starting to rain. So there you have it. Thanks for watching.